special forum being organized by the UNDP with support from Guinness Ghana Breweries Limited, AIESEC Ghana, and the EIB Network. It's called the Social Good Summit 2016. We're talking about the global goals to transform our world, more popularly referred to as the Sustainable Development Goals. The themes are three: the roles of manufacturing, the youth, and ICT. We're doing the talking with Emmanuel Eduji, Executive Director, Yes Ghana; Gabriel Opoku-Asare, Corporate Affairs Director, Guinness Ghana Breweries Limited; the UNDP's Economic Specialist, Mr. Kojo Sedega; Kwame Ahiabenu, Executive Director, Pens Plus Bites; and Sandra Ajekum, Country Director at AIESEC. Mr. Sedega, usually when we talk about these sustainable development goals, and I won't lie, I'm one of them, I get to think that, these are things often for the big civil society actors to meet at a conference and debate over and have conversations around. Eventually they come up with perhaps a plan of action, and then they go to a certain rural community and do one or two projects, and it ends there. I see myself very remotely connected with these sustainable development goals, and I believe for many of us over here, we're wondering, how does it concern me? Please help us establish that relationship. Should we be bothered at all?
The Sustainable Development Goals might seem to be detached from you, but it is not necessarily the case. During the formulation of the Sustainable Development Goals, we went around the country to solicit views from everybody, to ask the question, the future you want. So we wanted them to tell us what future they would want to see in the next 15 years. So we started from Tamale all the way down south, and had the national one in Accra, and also we have some district consultations. So we solicited these views from various people, and what you see today is a reflection of that. As we were doing that, other countries were doing same. So basically, this particular one, the Sustainable Development Goal, is more involving that a lot of people were involved in, as opposed to the Millennium Development Goal, the MDGs. In the previous one, the Millennium Development Goals, financing was basically that the developed world should give money to the developing world to implement it, about 0.7% of their gross national income to be given to them to implement it. But in this case, the implementation, the financing part of it must come from within. So that was the negotiation, that everybody should raise their own income, their own resources to be able to finance the implementation of the development goals. So these are some of the differences. And why you should be more concerned and be bothered is that this particular sustainable development goals hinges on the three pillars of sustainable development. And if you like, you can say four. That is the social part, the economic part, and the environmental part, as well as the justice and the peace we talk of. That without peace or without justice, you can't live in a normal society and flourish. But the MDGs are basically on the social side. They only look at the social side. So we can say broadly that the Sustainable Development Goals affect every part of our life. Therefore, we need to show concern in it.
Gabriel, Mr. Sedega mentioned something, that being conscious of sustainable development and the fact that you are a major multinational, yet you seem to have a lot of passion for these SDGs. Help us understand, what does it mean to be sustainable development conscious from the perspective of Guinness Ghana Breweries?
Going way back when we first made Guinness, it's always been our tradition to give back to society in various forms, building hospitals, supporting schools, and so many other things that we do, providing jobs to thousands and thousands of people throughout the country and also in other countries as well. So we sat down and then we looked at all the activities that we do that support society. Then we thought about it in a different way, that sustainability really is about doing things that negates the wrong in society. But it's not just one piece of it. It is not just the traditional CSR where you go out there and donate, say, a TV to a police station, and then that is it. It's a good thing to do, but there's a clear difference between corporate philanthropy and corporate sustainability, and that is where we are. So if you have a person, or say a consumer, buying a brand like Malta Guinness, buying a brand like Guinness, I'll say Malta Guinness has got 50% of local raw material in it. So you're not just enjoying Malta Guinness, you're supporting the farmer in the village, you're supporting the sorghum farmer. If you buy Root has 70% local raw material in it. With Root, we've actually made cassava of our brands, of our beer brands. So with Roots, we've actually made cassava an industrial crop. So the farmer do not have to produce cassava and it gets rotten on the farm. Once he produces, he has a guarantee of off-taker who's going to buy it. With us, we've helped government to restore the Ayensu starch factory, which is now doing actually well. We are even in contact with government to look at how we can also source from Commander. And that's the trajectory that we are on. We started from a point where we are at 12% in terms of our local raw material inputs. Today, we can gladly say we are around 48%, but that is not enough. We are looking at getting to 80% by the year 2020. So that's the trajectory we are on.
Sandra, you guys at AIESEC, you have a reputation for being able to mobilize very effectively. Share with us how it is that you think this mobilization can drive the ultimate goal that we are all looking for, with the benefit of experience using AIESEC's models.
Okay. All right. So early on, you mentioned that the Sustainable Development Goals is the perception out there is that the Sustainable Development Goals is for the big guys, for the top notch, and people go for conferences, talk about it, and then come back, and then nothing happens. And that was something similar that we experienced with the MDGs. In September 2015, after it was signed, 6 months later, AIESEC gathered at the UN headquarters where we signed an MOU with the UN saying that we are committed towards mobilizing young people to drive the Sustainable Development Goals. And for us, it's more about getting people to be aware of it. So we came up with an initiative called Youth for Global Goals globally. And this year is when we intend to implement this Youth for Global Goals initiative in Ghana. What it means is that we have a framework which starts with awareness creation, engagement phase, and then the action part. Last year, we were able to gather over 160,000 responses globally, but unfortunately in Ghana, we were unable to do that because the awareness was very, very low. We come on campus and then we ask students, guys, so we are going to do something about Sustainable Development Goals, and someone asks, what is in it for me? So then we realized that our approach needs to be different. The way we go about it needs to be different. And what are the more innovative ways that we needed to go about this whole thing? And so this year is the Ghana Youth Speak initiative that we intend to drive. So Ghana Youth Speak, all we are saying is that, guys, this is Sustainable Development Goals. This is our future, because in 15 years' time, for instance, I'm going to be 33. So then it's my future, and I'm going to be part of it. So
now to Mr. Edwigi. Mr. Edwigi, there's often talk about what young people need to do to be able to contribute to this. And someone asked the question, are we exaggerating the potential of young people, or do they really have something to contribute to this whole initiative?
Well, thank you. Yes, young people have a lot to contribute to the Sustainable Development Goals. First is the numbers of young people. So globally, young people are, what's the current percentage? About 40%, depending on which ages you are using. And in Africa, if you're just using 15 to 35, which is the definition given by the African Youth Charter of the African Union, then young people are about 65%. In Ghana, I just said earlier on that based on the 2010 census and all of the annual growth rates, young people are currently comprising a third of the population. And so just by their sheer numbers, young people have a lot to contribute to the achievement of the Sustainable Development Goals. Why do I say that? It means that their actions or inactions, depending on what it is, are very important. So if you look at the goals, ending poverty, if there are a third of young people, so in this year we should be about 28 million, 29. What's the population of Ghana this year based on? About 25? I think we should be, if you're using 2.5% annual growth rate, we should be even more than 25 million. Now, a third of 25 million means what? Maybe 8, thereabout. So, if we can achieve the sustainable development goals for even 8 million young people in Ghana, the goals would have been deemed to be far advanced. I don't know if you get the analysis I'm trying to draw at, because the numbers of young people are very high. So that's one. Two, the efforts of young people. So we have goals such as consumption patterns. We have goals for education. We have goals for decent work. If young people can attain decent work, if young people's consumption patterns in terms of how they live, what they do, whether these are responsible lifestyles or, forgive my word, irresponsible lifestyles, all these things have individual but also collective impact on whether or not we achieve the goals. So in a very simplistic way, this is what we mean when we say young people have a direct impact on the sustainable development goals.
Now we're moving forward to look at the role of new media, or social media for that matter. And then we get to understand practically, Ms. Ahia Benu, what can we use social media or new media for to be able to achieve these SDGs? But as part of your submission, I want you to deal with the hint you gave us that you want to reduce the 17 SDGs to 2 main points for our consumption.
For me, the goals are quite a lot, 17 of them. But I want to reduce them into 2 areas, as I mentioned. And the areas are about how do we reduce poverty? Poverty in the sense that there's a lot of people in this country who are below the poverty line. And these goals have key elements to ensure that we can lift ourselves out of poverty. To do that, one of the key issues on the mind of a lot of youth is about jobs. When you finish school, are you going to have jobs? However, we believe that you have to create more opportunities. You have to create more situation where you can even employ your colleagues, students, or other people. Now, to do that, it's important that you align yourself with all this discussion we are having, in the sense that if you don't, you are leaving or you are selling your future to old men, because a lot of the people around the country today are very old. I want to touch on 2 issues that you can buy into. First is that you need to be interested in public service delivery. How do you ensure that all these 70 goals that we mentioned, there's a lot of talk about health, for example, education. Are you getting the best education ever? There's a talk about corruption in terms of sustainability. If today the politicians chop all the money, when you become a future leader tomorrow, there will be nothing left in the coffers for you. The second aspect of what I want to raise is about wealth creation. To create wealth, you need an enabling environment. And that have to come from 2 areas: innovations. Technology is giving us a lot of opportunities for innovations. Social media is one of them. You can sit here today, connect with friends everywhere. I know the youth are dating online. You can have job opportunity online. You can apply for educational opportunities abroad. So for me, technology should be seen as an enabler. And the youth are the very important group of people, in the sense that they can take this technology, they can take this opportunity that it offers, they can even help us resolve some of the challenges that technology brings in terms of maybe lack of bandwidth or the cost of access, to drive development. Development which is sustainable, as articulated by the 17 goals.
If there are any remarks across or disagreements that anybody has, I think please feel free to voice them out. Otherwise, if there are points which have been made which you want to develop, you can do that. But Mr. Sedega, now you spoke about the fact that there's a need for everybody to put their shoulder to the wheel so that we can support this initiative. What kinds of support systems do you think are required?
The youth have a lot of energy. Apart from that, they are very creative, and they are the very people who like taking more risk than the aged. And therefore, that provides the platform for them actually to be able to launch their implementation plan for the SDGs. When you take youth, for example, you want them to see what can they do to implement the SDGs in their own small ways. When you are tackling education, let's say you can employ ICT for your own education. Today, you can pick an iPad that can give you your textbooks. You can go to a website that can even educate you to overcome the complex mathematics that you are not finding very interesting. They can make it very interesting for you. So if you are the youth, you took advantage of that to be able to develop your education. And literature tells us that when you have a good quality education, you are likely not to be poor. And also you are likely to take along some people from poverty. Now, when you have that good quality education, it therefore means that you will be conscious of your health status as well. And when you are conscious of your health status, what therefore it means that if you are really applying yourself to the tenets of the new development landscape, gender issues will be very sensitive issues for you. Where in our traditional homes, we guys, we think that our sisters are the one to do the household chores, where we do the reading, or we go to play soccer outside, and you will now begin to appreciate how it is. So the youth have a lot of energy, and you can read around and see what you can do in your own way to implement this SDGs.
The consumption patterns and the social media and new media behavior, what will be your diagnosis?
Okay. The truth is that SDG awareness, especially in Ghana for now, it's being championed by students or youth movements, let's say youth-run organizations. And these are the only times that you'd see people talking about SDGs. I was talking earlier on about my practical, or about our practical experiences, trying to get even people to attend this event, and the main thing being what's in it for us, and people not understanding enough. So for us as AIESEC, we have also the hashtag Youth for Global Goals that we were championing. Youth for Global Goals, if you could, check it on Twitter or Facebook. Those were some of the ways we were trying to drive awareness towards the Youth for Global Goals initiative. So the problem is people do not get it. If someone does not understand, they would not tweet about it. They will not put it on social media. But if people know, then they will start talking about it, and then we can have conversations. So awareness is very, very important. And how we bring awareness, how we get people to know that there's something called Sustainable Development Goals, and it affects you, and it's your future. If we're able to get this part correct, then it would come with social media, or we would start, in fact, we will use social media to promote awareness.
Send the microphone round. If you have any ideas regarding how it is that we can integrate young people into this global agenda, you let us know.
I go by the name Mauli Kerubin Amenyedo. I'm a digital marketer. I'm just trying to know what is the conversation that leads to the place of values in, let me say, digital marketing or social media use, and how are we mooting that agenda to in the whole scheme of the 17 goals the SDG has? This is particularly to UNDP. All right, thank you.
My name is Charles, and I studied agriculture. Okay. My question is to Guinness Ghana. I'm from Nigeria, and from my experience with Guinness Nigeria, I question you guys' passion about the SDGs. This is reasons because I did agriculture, so I was privileged to do internships in few of the farms that Guinness Nigeria patronize. Now, the issue is this: most times they come, they get cassava or other goods from these farmers at very cheap rates, not even enough income to sustain them. And the thing is, and it came to my mind like, okay, if these guys can import, then they will import, but because it's costlier, and these guys is cheaper, and they actually cheat them. So my question, I know Guinness is Guinness everywhere, but management systems differ in countries. So I want to actually understand, is it about passion for you or just profit?
My name is Tonsolovu David. I'm a Chinese student, Chinese and linguistic combining. I wish the representative of UNDP help me with the answer. I want to ask, some countries, for instance, do not care about this SDG or MDGs that was then. For example, China, I know China and India produce a lot of, they pollute the environment, even though this SDGs asks them to reduce their pollution rates. Does the UN do something to prevent that? Is there any law that curtails such kind of behaviors? Thank you very much.
I think we can pause now, take responses, and then return for the next batch of questions.
To your question around whether it's passion or profit, it's really about passion, not just profits, but profit is also important because that's the only way we can be sustainable. That's the only way we can keep running the business. We've been here for 50 years in Ghana. The business globally has been around for over 250 years. We cannot run at a loss, but at the same time, we ensure that the practices are right.
Mr. Sadega, there was a question about responsible social media use.
It is not all about social network. We go there and make jokes, but it is also, we can go there to exchange ideas. And as we exchange these ideas, we are also be reminded that let's be responsible, that we can even collaborate with one another to develop whatever we are doing. So UNDP is so much supporting that. There were some countries who do not believe in climate change. They didn't believe in that. So no, the climate change is something else. It's not as a result of our own doing, or some may be natural, but our own doing. That is why we're having the global warming and having a change in weather pattern and the rest. But now UNDP led that, and through a sister organization we call the UNFCCC, where we are able to support countries, and we all signed to the agreement that we will do responsible production and responsible consumption to ensure that we do not necessarily destroy the environment in which we live. And therefore, we are very particular about the 3 goals that concern the environment: the climate change, life underwater, and life on the land.
The next round of questions.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Prince Ajavon from Agribusiness Development Alliance, Tamale. Mine goes to UNDP and Guinness Ghana Limited. If you really want to grow the youth into agri-business development and food sustainability, then it means you have to find a way to curtail the middleman or aggregators, because they will try to buy cheap, and I don't know any graduate youth that goes to Karaga to put up that farm. The aggregator would like to buy from him very, very cheap before selling to you. So UNDP can make the grants available for us to train the graduate youth, so that 1 acre soybean with drip, what can I get? 1 acre with sprinkler, what can I get? 1 acre with pivot, what can I get? We build the business plan with them, and with you, we know that immediately the crops or the cassava is ready, you will pick them up. You will not sell to any middleman. Then the graduate youth will be happy that, yes, in advance, I know that my 10-acre soybean, this is what I'm getting, this is the yield. The cassava is also the same. But if you are bringing still the middleman, I don't think we can make it, because they will still suppress us. Thank you.
My name is Ebenezer. I do consultancies for international relations and also youth development. The question is, how are we going to ensure that we incorporate the social businesses into the minds of young people so that they can use the issues that we are facing in Ghana to address the sustainable development goals?
My name is Diana Sechofia Agbenyo. I am a community service agent at Ashaiman. I currently run a book project, and this month 3,000 books for one of the public schools in Ashaiman. My contribution is actually not a question. I believe we are all full of solutions on the various issues we have about our society. Most of the young people have started various small initiatives on their own at very basic levels in their various communities. If you are able to find a way of getting all these, now where you mentioned the youth map-up app comes in, I think it's a fantastic idea. If we could start with where we can find them in politics, especially in religious bodies, as University of Ghana can attest to, there is a way we can actually get the information down to trickle down for everybody to see himself or herself part of the agenda in getting the SDGs goals, SDGs met.
Okay, thank you. I will answer, I think, two of the questions that are directly related to UNDP or the question asked. The first one is about building the capacity of the farmers and be able to eliminate the middlemen. One, let me be frank with you. The UN agencies have various mandates, and we are not necessarily into agriculture because that is not where we have our niche. What we can do or what we do about agriculture is to support the farmers or the people who are involved in the distance through the value chain, or let me use the word like that, the value chain. And I want to give just one example to explain what we do. For example, we have shea butter and shea nut. Women collect shea nut in the north. They go pick it, and what they do is to sell the nut to middlemen or women or to people who process it. And we all know that that nut do not attract much value because it's a raw form. So what we did and what we did to support the women is to help them establish processing plants. And we did this through what we Africa 2000. And Africa 2000 is an NGO or a civil society organization that was created by UNDP to ensure that that has been achieved. The women who collect the shea nuts and have their own association, and in the butter association, they're able to process into a shea butter before they sell, which has much more value than the distance. So those are some of the things that we do, but we are not directly into agriculture. So building the capacity of the farmer, maybe that will be a bit of a challenge for us. FAO, Food and Agriculture Organization, might be in a good position to do that. The support system that we give to people who have options for the implementation of the SDGs, we provide support system to institutions. We do not necessarily provide a support system to individuals or as people. What we do is we work very much with government and at the policy level. That is one. And we also work with civil society organizations. So we have never come to support an individual to implement. So maybe if you are looking at supporting you, you need to look at it from an institution point of view. That if I join certain institution, then I could use that institution to implement the SDGs. I think that's the only advice I can give at that point.
May I now invite Mr. Bosman Owusu, who is in charge of communications at the UNDP, to come and give us some vote of thanks. Please welcome him.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. You would agree with me that this has been a very powerful interactive segment, isn't it? I want us to give a big round of applause to our panelists for actually doing justice to the issues. We knew they were competent, but we didn't know they had that, level of resource in them. Thank you very much. You did justice to all the issues, and we are very grateful to you. What we see today as a very simple event has happened because of several weeks of planning and mobilization. And I think it is appropriate that at this point we acknowledge the partnership that brought about this program. So here we're talking about the support of Guinness Ghana Breweries Limited, AIESEC, EIB Network, and colleagues at UNDP that are here, and also with support from the SRC of the University of Ghana. Let's give a round of applause to these ones too.
Ladies and gentlemen, we've come to the end of our program for today. On behalf of the UNDP, Guinness Ghana Breweries Limited, the EIB Network, and AIESEC, would like to profoundly thank our resource persons for sharing knowledge with us, but also thank you for spending time here with us today. God bless you, and I wish you all the best.